Welcome to another edition of Celtics Roundtable on the Boston Celtics news feed. We're a little short-handed today, but
we don't need everybody else. We just need two guys talking about it.
Right, a little one-on-one action here. I'm Matt Ignal. I'm joined by, fresh off of hosting Celtics beat, Evan Valenti. We're going to talk a little bit about the draft lottery, which, as many of you know, is coming up Tuesday at 8:30. And of course, we're going to preview Game 7, one of the biggest games in recent memory. Let's quickly talk a little bit about the draft lottery, some of the chatter that we've heard, and I guess the overall importance of this draft lottery. Evan, what have you been hearing?
Well, I think it's, before you get to that, I do have to pose a question to you. So I'm going to answer your question with a question, man. Does getting to the Eastern Conference Finals make you more or less attractive, or not change it at all, the ability to maybe get a Gordon Hayward?
Getting into the Eastern Conference Finals would improve the Celtics' chances of getting Hayward, but it's probably not like a big jump, like 2%, maybe, something like that.
Yeah, I don't think it's huge.
Yeah, I don't think it's massive, but the difference between the number 4 pick and the number 1 pick we don't know how this is going to turn out, but it could very well be a massive difference. I mean, you think about, historically, the number 1 pick, I think Zach Lowe said, the median outcome something like Chris Webber.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah, like a low-level Hall of Famer or something like that. Like someone who's in, but, isn't a Pantheon NBA guy. But it's these are the types of players that you win championships with. Hall of Fame caliber players, and you have a much better chance of getting that at number 1 than you do at the number 4. We know this is a strong draft class, but to me, there's only really 2 guys that I feel like it's at least easy for me to see them reaching that level at some point in their careers.
I go a little bit more than 2 guys deep. I could see a couple of different guys, but I mean, just look at some of the guys who've been drafted number 1 overall recently, and you look at, Ben Simmons we don't know about, and apparently he's not going to play in the Summer League, which I think is really weird. He hasn't played any organized basketball in a year, and he's just not going to play in the Summer League. I think that's strange.
They're just an incredibly cautious organization.
I mean, I understand, but the kid's got to play basketball at some point. But just whatever. Go back number 1 overall picks in the past. Karl Anthony Towns. Would you love to have him right now?
Future Hall of Famer.
Right. Andrew Wiggins. I would like to have, and I'd like to give him a better coach, but earlier on in his career.
But
I like him.
Embiid was the number 1 pick that year, and he just got injured. And if he's healthy, Hall of Famer.
Okay, fair enough. So it would have been Embiid, and Embiid is amazing when he's on the court. Okay.
We'll forget about 2013, but
we're not going to talk about Anthony Bennett. Okay, he's just terrible. But then there's Anthony Davis,
Hall of Famer.
Kyrie Irving,
probably Hall of Famer.
Probably Hall of Famer. John Wall, killing it right now.
Yeah.
Blake Griffin,
Hall of Famer.
You'll think about what could have been.
Yeah.
The same with Derrick Rose.
Should have been Hall of Famers if they just stayed injury free.
Yeah, as you go on the list, it's like, oh, those guys are all really good players that, either if it were health related or fit related, with the exception of Anthony Bennett, you would have loved to have any one of those guys on your roster. I don't want to talk about the people I would murder to have Karl Anthony Towns on the Celtics roster, or Anthony Davis. That would be amazing. So to have the ability to get a number 1 overall pick in the draft, not only is that potentially bringing a ridiculously high-end talent to your franchise, but it opens the door for trades. It opens the door to maybe talk to somebody about Jimmy Butler, or talk to the Pacers about Paul George, or talk to maybe some other team that we're not even thinking about right now to grab somebody else. You have way more avenues to be successful by having the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And the people that want to sacrifice 1 win for 4 spots, I think, are a little insane.
Yeah. By the way, if they get that number 1 pick, that's not being traded.
I don't think so. But I'm just saying it opens the door.
Right. We heard that some agents are keeping their clients away from the Boston Celtics due to depth. That was reported by Chad Ford.
If you don't want to compete against some other guys on the Celtics that might not even be there by the time you hit your prime anyway, then you're a pansy. I don't even want you on the team then.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown didn't get a huge role, but he's going to get enough playing time before his next contract. That's what agents are looking at. That's 4 years down the line. You got to prove yourself in the NBA, and the Celtics will probably give you a chance. I mean, I don't James Young. I don't think that has much to do with the Celtics' depth as it does with the fact that James Young is just plain old not good. So maybe there's a little something to it. I think it's more overblown.
Yeah, they might have the best GM coach tandem in the league. Like, and you don't want to go join a team that's going to know how to use you the right way, like to develop you the right way to make you the best player you possibly be. Like, Isaiah Thomas went from being a guy that makes $6 million to a guy that's going to be either a third team or second team all NBA player and is going to get a max money contract after everybody thought he was worthless. Like, this is the team you want to go to. They're going to find a way to use you. I just think that's an insane thing to even put out there. To lump Boston in there is just a weird vibe to put out there if you're an agent. I don't get it.
Yeah, I think it's overblown, and the main reason is because it just makes very little sense. Like, there just seems to be very little to it. We got anything else to talk about with regard to the draft lottery?
I mean, other than Chad Ford came out with, and the fact that we're quoting Chad Ford twice in a podcast can't be good. But
he is plugged in. He is plugged in.
Oh, he's plugged in.
Yeah, there's draft boards, but.
Yeah, but it's also far away from the draft, and I think you'll end up hearing different things along the way. So, but the hot, sexy news right now is, and I'm not really happy about it because I think it has a really good shot at happening. Is De'Aaron Fox maybe jumping in?
He's an amazing interview, by the way.
Oh, I love
think
that.
He's just like an incredibly well-spoken kid. He's going to kill the interview process, and I think teams are just going to bet on him because of his personality, and just hope the shot comes along.
I love those guys. I'm a huge sucker for that stuff.
That's the radio host in you.
That's it, man. I love good interviews. I love that stuff.
But getting back to the importance of this draft lottery, I think you could easily see Markelle Fultz being like a top 10, top 5 offensive player one day. Lonzo Ball, I can't heap enough praise on his like outlier level strength. I know he's got a lot of weaknesses and divides a lot of Twitter, but everything I've heard is that front offices love him. But I think one or two or three of the next tier guys, I think a few of them are gonna be all-stars. It's just it becomes a less certain proposition. All right, it's playoff season, and having the right players on the court will be key to success. That sharp outside shooter or power rebounder can be the difference between winning and losing. Business isn't any different. Your company needs the right people to be the best. So where do you go to find top talent? Well, at ZipRecruiter.com, you can post your job to 100+ job sites with just one click. Then their powerful technology efficiently matches the right people to your position. And right now, our listeners can start forming their own winning team on ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan. That's ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan. Let's move on to Game 7, which is the matter at hand for the Celtics.
There's a game? There's a game tonight?
There's a game at 8 o'clock.
Nuts.
8 o'clock on TNT.
TNT. Yeah, TNT. The Birdman, Iron Eagle on the call with Greg Anthony. It's gonna be a fun time.
Yeah.
Pretty excited. The Garden's gonna be electric.
Yeah. So I guess biggest game probably since Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals in 2012.
No question.
I feel like most people have a real handle on this series, so we'll be quick about it. I think you're going to see the sort of strategies that both coaches settle on in the second half of this series. That means Avery Bradley on John Wall, IT on Bradley Beal, and the Celtics will just kind of go from there, start Amir Johnson. And then the Wizards are going to blitz and trap Isaiah on the offensive end and just not let him get into a rhythm. And the Celtics are going to respond by cutting from the baseline and just trying to generate the looks that, that they pretty much got in Game 6. What's your handle on the series, Evan?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think the thing is, like, talking with Iron Eagle on Celtics Beat, shameless plug, he seemed to have an idea that this could be a big IT game or a big John Wall game. And I think when it really comes down to it, I think both those guys will be good. I don't think we're going to see a bad John Wall game or a bad Isaiah Thomas game. Like, they might limit both guys. But when it really comes down to it for me, I think it really is going to be a bench thing. And it's going to be, Boston at home is a significantly better shooting team than they are on the road. And that's been well documented. But you look at, they've been able to generate open looks consistently, in terms of 48 minutes, pretty much since Game 5.
Yeah, and they adjusted. Like, Brad Stevens made clear adjustments, and I think that was just having more off-ball movement, more of that cutting that we saw where guys aren't just standing around.
Yeah, but if you look at some of the shooting numbers of some of the other guys on the team when they come back to the TD Garden, like Kelly Olynyk shoots 50% from 3-point range in the playoffs when he's at home. Al Horford actually drops from like a ridiculous 61% to 50%. Jaylen Brown's a better shooter at the TD Garden, especially when he's in the corners. Another guy that jumps up a little bit is Jay Crowder's numbers in terms of shooting at home versus shooting on the road. Like, when you get back to your home court, and it's been this exact way the entire series, the role players tend to have a little bit more oomph on their home floor because they're actually much more comfortable shooting there. And when I look at Washington, and again, I talked about this during the Celtics beat, who's the guy for Washington, besides John Wall and Brad Beal? It's really been Markieff Morris. And Markieff Morris, when you talk about a guy that's going to take a lot of the scoring load, like, he can be really hot or really cold. And when he's on the road, it could be a rough night. He shoots 39% from the field, from the floor, when he's on the road. And if he's going to shoot, sub 40, sub 30%, like, that's going to kill Washington, because I don't know if they have a ton of other options in their lineup to combat a bad shooting night from Bradley Beal, who has been, again, not great on the road in this series, 28% from 3-point range on the road during the entire playoffs. Like, I don't know where they go.
Yeah, I think that's the reason to be confident for the Celtics. I think just the fact that they're at home, they had a better regular season than the Wizards, so they rightfully secured home court advantage, and that tends to be huge in Game 7s where you have something like an 80% advantage there.
True, but look at some of the other stats, like points per game allowed by the Wiz in the Verizon Center this series, 94. In terms of the TD Garden, points per game, 125. Like, that is staggering. Staggering.
Two more things that worry me. One is the Bradley Beal-Isaiah Thomas matchup. Man, Bradley Beal looks so comfortable in Game 6 getting to that I wouldn't even call it a mid-range. It's more like a close-range jumper, like with the way he elevates and the height advantage he has over Isaiah Thomas. I mean, it's just easy shots that he gets from, 14, 15 feet on Isaiah Thomas. It's tough. It's tough that we thought that one of the weaknesses of the Celtics in this series was that there was really no great place to hide Isaiah Thomas. They chose Bradley Beal, who's offensively an all-star level player. That's one of my worries. The second worry is the officiating. I think it was pretty awful at the end of Game 6. There's the play that we all know about where the Celtics were robbed of a second at the very end, but the amount of off-ball holding that the Wizards were pulling, like, in the fourth quarter, which really
Gortat.
It was completely Gortat. But Jan Mahinmi was, like, blatantly pushing off all the time. I mean, they really let a lot of calls go.
Look, I don't have a problem with that. If you let it go,
a foul, though. You can't hold guys.
Well, I mean, you gotta let it go. You got to let it go both ways, and you got to call it the whole series. The discrepancy sometimes is ridiculous. Now, okay, some of that is schematically, defensively from Washington. They're saying, okay, we got to keep Isaiah out of the paint. But that guy gets into the paint a lot, and he gets hammered a lot. And when he's home, he gets the whistle. When he's on the road, he doesn't. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, as basketball fans, we probably don't want to admit how much the whistle has an effect on the game. But it does. So Game 7. How do we get here? It's been a fun series. I almost don't want it to end. Even Game 6, which ended in heartbreak. I mean, that was an incredible game. I think regardless of what happens in this Game 7, like, this isn't like Toronto playing against, like, Miami in the Eastern Conference semifinals last year. I mean, that was just a completely ugly, like, borderline pathetic series. These are two really good teams going at it. And, whichever team prevails, the other team, shouldn't feel ashamed. They should be pretty proud of what they've done, going toe-to-toe with this other team in a pretty evenly matched series.
Yeah, if you want to play it that way, Matt, we can play it that way. But, I mean, Boston should have higher expectations here. They're the number 1 overall seed in the conference. Like, come on. Winning this game would be disappointing. Yeah, was it a fun season? Yeah, it was an awesome season. But, you have to have expectations. You have to have goals. And when you come up short of those goals, you need to be disappointed. A lot of people in the national media, a lot of people in local media, and myself, and probably everybody in this podcast included, you kind of get caught up in now. But what's funny is in 24 hours after the game,
future.
Yeah, that's it. It's all going to be about the future. So this is going to be like the biggest roller coaster in like that I've felt in terms of like maybe highs and lows in a long time. And then, in terms of staying healthy here. I don't know. It might end up being joyous celebration all around, or extreme depression, depending how these next 2 days go. Forward to it, though. It's not like I'm not looking forward to it.
Sure. I mean, I think Celtics fans are feeling the stress. So, hopefully this podcast is therapeutic. All right. Well, we're excited for Game 7, obviously. And I got nothing else to say except go Celtics. All right. That was Evan Valenti. I'm Matt Ignal. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you. And hopefully we'll be in a really good mood after the game. See you next time.